Last time on
You're tall, but I'm standing in front of you.
We're taking a little bit of a hiatus, unclear exactly how long it'll be. FYI, it's hard to say. It could be a month, it could be 2 months.
Well, you know what we'll probably start up with.
What's that? Rebel Moon
1 second.
Part 2.
Rebel Moon Part 2, the Scargiver.
And now the conclusion.
You're tall, but I'm standing in front of you.
It's a podcast.
All right, let's get this show on the road.
Let's go.
Welcome to You're Tall, but I'm Standing in Front of You, the podcast where two friends circling the drain of academia examine the cultural detritus of the 20th century. I'm Devin.
I'm Ethan.
How's it going, buddy?
Man, I've got a lot to get off my chest. I'll start here. Let me start with the fact that something is terribly awry right now because I've got two beverages here. I have an espresso that I made with my Bialetti, and I have a white wine. And you've made a margarita. And I just feel like I'm incredibly Italian coded right now. And what's going on here? What's happening?
I've got a margarita and I've got like water with like one of those like tablets that makes it Gatorade in it. These are the kind of fluids you need to get through a podcast about the topic that we're discussing today.
Yes.
But first, Ethan, first off, I appreciate you. You know, we talked last pod. About I always say how's it going, buddy, and how we don't need to derail the podcast immediately, and you really came in hot, and I appreciate that.
I listen.
But something I've been thinking about, because you know me, I like to like imbibe in certain kinds of chemicals sometimes, and I start to sometimes lately, like especially when I'm watching something for the podcast, I will have like flashbacks to things that I or like you have said on the podcast. And then I think about the fact that like, dozens of people perhaps have listened to those things. And it's so fucking absurd. Like, why do we do this? Like, the idea that even one person is going to listen to what we're recording right now about the topic I am about to bring up, and I am not stalling.
Yeah,
it's just like it's fundamentally kind of embarrassing, I guess. But then also, I mean, at least we're honest, At least we're not lying about being something we're not.
And just the hubris for us to record what's happening. I don't know if you can hear us. My wife is watching a hockey game, and so there is a lot of background noise that maybe is being covered up with the noise suppression. But see, bits like that, people will listen to the fact that I just had to explain that. No one needs to know that. No one should have to know that.
No one needs to know anything we're saying here.
Yeah, it's really something.
It's
and yet
stuff. And yet
we're coming off of our hottest episode.
Yeah, so here's what's happening. So we had Sam Catlin on last episode. We talked about cruising, our most popular episode ever. One of our other most popular episodes, The Master with Sarah Osmond, right? So I'm noticing two things from this. People seem to like when someone other than you and me is on the pod. And people seem to like when we talk about a movie that's actually good. It's almost like the entire premise of the podcast is flawed. And people actually like hearing like sophisticated critical takes on like good movies.
Huh.
And so how do you follow up? You've just done your best episode ever, your most popular episode ever. How do you make sure to like take that momentum and not squander it? Like keep it moving. We're talking about Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. Rebel Moon - Part 2, The Scargiver.
It's like a contractual obligation, and we're so fucked now because we did part 1 and we have to do part 2. It's like, do you ever hear the story about how like Emily Blunt was like required to do a third film with Fox or something, and so she had to turn down the role of Black Widow in the MCU so that she could star in Gulliver's Travels?
That was probably a win for her.
I mean, it's a win for her life.
She got an Oscar nomination in Oppenheimer. If she was tied up in the MCU right now, I don't know if she'd have been in that movie.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's but this is kind of what I'm talking about with the absurdity.
I like your optimism,
This
Devin.
movie came out and we have to do an episode on it. Like who? According to who? Like we've imposed this on ourselves. Nobody's asking for this.
Yeah.
Let me just give exact numbers here. So our cruising episode, in terms of listeners, did 135% better than our Rebel Moon Part 1 episode. So like, the people are not, we're supposed to honor Vox Populi, the voice of the people on this podcast. They're not asking for this, but guess what?
Can I offer an alternative hypothesis of what's going on here? The people yearn for a Rebel Moon director's cut episode. And so really the problem, like you may be saying, well, it did really bad. But really what we need to do is have a director's cut version of the Rebel Moon episode, part 1 and part 2, because that is really what the fans crave.
It's true, and we'll probably do an episode about that because we hate ourselves.
Yeah.
But that said, we watched Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. The second part in what thankfully will certainly be the last entry. Wait, I'm getting really bad news on my ticket right now. We'll get into that more later. But we're going to talk about it. So, quick recap, Ethan. What the fuck was Rebel Moon Part 1? What was it even called? A Child of Fire.
Okay.
Indefinite article.
So is the main character both a child of fire and the Scargiver? Is this referring to the same person? I believe that is the case,
because obviously you go into Rebel Moon Part 2, the Scargiver, and your question number 1 is, who's the Scargiver? And then, like, not to jump ahead to the plot summary, but the villain at one point is, like, talking about her, and he's like, yes, the Scargiver. I'll have my vengeance. And then later reveals that she gave him a scar.
Yeah.
Like before he's even seen the scar, he's calling her the Scargiver. So I don't know if like before this she was already the Scargiver and it was like a metaphorical scar because she had like tarnished the Empire and then or what. The Child of Fire.
Yeah.
So like this is weird. It's like, especially for what's supposed to be like kind of like a team up sort of story. These are weird names.
Yes.
But so what happened in Rebel Moon Part 1 is that there's bad guys, they did bad things, and then some good guys got together, and some of them died, and some were traitors and were killed, and then there's like a team, and then it's like, well, we'll keep trying, basically.
Yeah. Part 1 was getting the band together, and part 2 is going to be the big show.
Yeah. So we begin part 2 with, an interesting take on kind of like the Star Wars opening crawl with like an audio version, right? Of just the main character, whose name I cannot remember. Here's the thing. These movies, how people joke about, and we've joked on the podcast about like how like, Avatar made all this money, has zero cultural impact. Rebel Moon is kind of interesting because it made no money and also had zero cultural impact. But it's like literally, as I'm watching it, I can't remember. I'm already forgetting it. And so I'm going to ask you a question now just at the top of the show. And
Right.
just so you know, this is not a joke. I mean this entirely seriously. I literally can't remember. And I watched this like 2 days ago. So
Yeah.
you know the villain, like the Richard Spencer guy.
Yeah.
Does he die in this?
Yes. Like very much so.
Okay, because like I here's the thing. I was like, he probably dies because it would make sense for him to, because he fake died at the end of the first movie. So I'm like, he
Right.
probably real dies this time. I literally can't remember. How did they kill him? Did they cut his head off?
We're just going right to the end here. Yeah. So he like dies. I think they want to get the point across that like, oh, he's definitely dead this time because he gets stabbed with the not lightsaber and then pushed into like a door, and then they close the metal door on him, so he's like cut in half.
All right. So that just
And then the ship blows up. So
yeah. Okay. So that's how little of an impact these movies have made on me. I've seen Rebel Moon 1 twice somehow. And Rebel Moon 2 should be very fresh, and it's like it didn't even happen. But so we start helpfully with this audio opening call to remind us of the first movie, which also ends up making the case for why the first movie didn't need to be made. Because you're just kind of like, oh yeah, if the movie just started this way, it's like, cool, yeah, there's a band of rebels.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like there's like a precedent for like a movie that just starts and there's kind of like a band of rebels, you know?
Yeah,
like, I don't know. I know this sounds crazy, but could you imagine kind of like a space situation, like kind of like a sort of violent and chaotic situation in space? I don't know what you would call that, but
space
like a space combat situation,
conflict, yeah, something,
yeah, like a sun battle or something like that.
Yeah.
And there's like you just kind of say like, hey, so the sun battle's happening, and there's rebels.
Yeah.
And the Empire's trying to catch them, you know, is basically what we've got at this point. But yeah, so we get reminded of what happened in the first film.
Yeah, and it's again, the take on it is instead of having that crawl of the text like you have in Star Wars, which I guess kind of harkens back to the old-timey films that George Lucas was trying to convey there. This is like, well, let's just have, like, we're already paying him to do nothing. Let's just have Anthony Hopkins do a voiceover of what happened in the first film, which I think he started the first film with also a voiceover of what happened leading up to that first film. But my suggestion was after he did that audio recap of the first film, Anthony Hopkins, the robot character, what if he then just continued and did an audio recap of what we're about to watch? And that would be the end of the film. He just explains, and then they come in their ship, but they stop them and kill the bad guy.
Sounds great.
Yeah,
and so I guess the podcast is over as well, right? We could all just go home. We're already home.
Oh,
our computers off.
Now.
It's a beautiful day outside. We could be out, having fun.
Why do we do this?
Vitamin D. It's really important. These are the important issues that are gripping America. Students are occupying college campuses across the country and being, violently suppressed by hired police thugs called in by evil university administrators.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver.
I want to make sure that my grandchildren, when they ask where did I stand in all of this, I could be like, well, you can figure it out because you could actually go back and listen to the podcast episode I did during this on a film called Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. So thank God that a record exists of our uselessness.
All I can say is, shout out to the students at the Bryn Mawr encampment. I'll be coming by tomorrow to support them. And whatever you do, if you're listening to this, don't watch Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. Here's the thing. I actually don't think it's that bad, but we'll get into it.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need to spend too much time on this plot. I think we can kind of just because here's the thing: the plot is the rebels get together and they end up killing the. It kind of has like a Three Amigos thing where they train uh, the farmers to help, and then they have a
Yeah.
rebellion. Some people die. They beat not the big bad, but they do kill the Richard Spencer guy, Atticus Noble. Uh, and then they find out at the end that the princess that what the fuck is even her name?
Who cares?
That Cora
Okay.
killed at the evil emperor's like behest, or evil general, or whatever the fuck his title is still alive. Because General Titus tells her this, even though we see her like shooting her at like point blank range in a flashback.
Yeah.
So that's the movie.
Yeah.
So we don't need to, I think, go through it step by step, but I do think we have some various points we wanted to hit within that, right?
Yes.
So a few things.
Right.
So we open with we're continuing from last time when we kind of see Atticus Noble being resurrected. Like, because it seems like they can essentially bring people back to life. This evil empire.
Yeah.
Kinda,
Would you
it's a
think
little
that the
unclear
heroes,
how.
like, given that half of them are veterans of this evil empire, like they should know this, but they're totally caught off guard. Like, oh, he came back to life. Like, you surely
They're
know.
so
that this is
arrogant. They're showing up to the fucking farmers and they're like,
They
"Oh
tell
yeah,
everyone."
he's so fucking dead."
Yeah.
We totally killed the guy who's in charge of the army that has technology to bring dead people back.
Yeah.
So we're kind of establishing like kind of vampire / zombie sort of rules here. Like, you really need to kill these guys.
Yeah.
So we see him being resurrected. He like is talking to the camera about like the Scargiver. So we find out very quickly that Cora is the Scargiver, I guess. I'm not crazy, right? She was never called the Scargiver in part 1, right?
Why would I possibly know the answer to that, Devin? I can't recall a thing from the first Rebel Moon. So maybe I don't know.
Because it's like she's already called the Scargiver, but then like as they're like, well, so also he's like freaking out because like the healer guys are like, "Hey, you're not ready yet," and he like kills one of them, and then they're apologizing for like, "Oh, sorry, she like left a blemish on you," and he has like a scar on his chest now, and he's like, "How fitting to get a scar from the Scar Giver." But I guess she's just the Scar Giver because she's the person that's been blamed for the deaths of the king and his daughter. But that's not really
I like that interpretation.
established.
No, this says you like that would make a lot of sense. This in no way is established.
If characters throughout the world were aware of a figure known as the Scargiver, and then like because she's hiding her past, there would be the revelation like, wait, you're the Scargiver.
Yeah.
So whatever, there's that going on.
Yeah.
We see her in like so the villain and like the one good guy are both played by people who played Dario Naharis in Game of Thrones, which is confusing. But Dario Naharis #2, who was the one that was him for most of the show, he's like the good farmer guy who's not necessarily like great at fighting.
Yeah, Gunner.
And so I guess him and Cora are like an item, and this is another example of something that I completely forgot from the first film.
Yeah, well, because I think it just sort of happens right towards the end. Maybe he always liked. I can't recall.
I believe they've been casually fucking like when the movie starts, like when the first movie starts. The idea is like because Zack Snyder likes to fuck. I don't know if you know this about him. So he's like, well, obviously, like my godlike heroes aren't like celibate. So she has like a side piece, but she's not emotionally available because she's secretly the Scargiver.
Right. And I like how the plot synopsis on Wikipedia frames it as Cora and Gunner become lovers. And this is like, because this is supposed to be 5 days, because they have 5 days to prepare for the bad guys coming back. So this is like a fling as far as I'm concerned. And it is not played. It's played as if like this is her true love. And it's the greatest line. I'll save it for when we get to the end. Spoiler alert: Gunner dies. But keep going. This, yeah. I don't know what else there is. Like they hear the bad guys are coming back. They're like, they shouldn't be coming back because that means that an admiral is alive. So they're like, oh, what's happening? And then it's just,
which is also like that's stupid. Like, can you imagine if like the way armies worked was just like, if you kill a guy, even if the army strategically should be attacking someone, they're just like, we can't do it because if an admiral dies, we have to go back to the home world. Like the whole reason you have a chain of command is so that if somebody dies, someone else takes over.
Yeah. Also a bad idea to keep having your admiral be the first dude off of every single ship in every conflict. Like, if
and he doesn't wear like a helmet. He's dressed like he's a member of Interpol. Like not the police organization, the band, right? Like he's like the bassist for Interpol, and he's like running towards an army with like, you know, like a fucking skinny tie on. But it's like, hey, if I die, the entire army has to leave according to the rules. And they still are like, this is happening. And they're still not like, wait, maybe they brought him back with the life-giving technology we know they have as like defected high-level Imperial soldiers.
Yeah. They're like, oh, that's sort of out of the ordinary. They must really want this grain.
Yeah. But so we're kind of in like we're in like kind of a Kurosawa-esque like Seven Samurai kind of situation here, which, you know, so many movies have done riffs on, Westerns have done riffs on. The Mandalorian did an episode like this. You know, it's very familiar territory of sort of like, okay, the skilled people are going to train the villagers. The villagers are going to prove to have like uniquely apt skills, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, it's gonna be like the Ewok scene at the end of fucking Star Wars, but with people, right? Mm-hmm. But first, slow motion farming.
Absolutely.
We get the Zack Snyder slow-mo treatment of like them harvesting the grain, because like they're like, well, we will harvest the grain before we start training you to be like soldiers. First, like, we only have 5 days, but first let's like harvest the grain, because like they really need this grain and we can kind of use it as like a bargaining chip or something. Sure. Which I'm kind of like, just put some fucking boxes out. They don't need to know there's grain in them. So what did you make of these just like luxurious slow motion CGI grain being like scythed up? How did you feel about this, Ethan?
So many emotions, Devin, to this scene. No, at first it reminded me of like one of those iPhone commercials where they're trying to show you that like the new iPhone could do slow motion. Yeah. Because it'd go from like normal motion to like the slow motion as the grain is like flying up in the air. So that's, and then it also kind of reminded me, it'd be like a Budweiser commercial. They're like, beer comes from grain and grain comes from America. And it's just like, that was the vibe I was getting with this. It was almost like this like triumphant feeling of, I guess,
very triumphant. It's like,
yeah,
because Zack Snyder is really into, in I think a relatively sincere way, like he's really just into like muscular bodies, like moving through space, like in this almost like kind of Greek sculpture way. And like, it's easy to make fun of, but I actually think he's so sincere about it that I don't think like the easy jokes actually work.
Sure.
But he just wants to see slow motion people like hacking and lifting and, you know, sweat. But it's also coded all in like CGI and weird lens effects, so it doesn't look like real, you know?
Very true. Yeah, we'll talk about it on the flip side, but I'm also I think he also really wants to like put up the farmers there as like the good guys, but he can't really figure out how to like make the laborers into a primary like force for good and change, because he has to rely on the superheroes ultimately. But I think he's also trying to really emphasize like, these farmers, look, they are they're creating value and doing all of this, but he sort of doesn't have anything beyond that to say. That's the vibe I was getting.
Absolutely. And like, you make me realize, like, that's part of the problem, right? Is because on some sense, this part of the film is kind of interesting because it is this like use of like contemporary superhero film aesthetics towards filming labor, right? Which is like a kind of a unique thing, like we don't actually see, right? But it feels less to me like it's actually like highlighting the realities of labor more than it's making an aesthetic argument that laborers are actually superheroes. And like the reason that like an agrarian society is like better than capitalism isn't because of like social relations or any sort. It's because they actually have like, they don't realize it, but the harvesting of grain actually makes them great warriors.
Yeah, and also they wouldn't know how to harvest the grain really fast unless a superhero general comes to explain to them, like, what if you did it in 2 days? Then it's like, whoa, we can do that.
Hey, what if you did it faster because we need 3 days to train you to be soldiers? This was my thing.
They know what to do.
Just on like a screenwriting 101 thing, make it a month. Make it take a month. Like, you know what I mean? It's made up. Yeah. Like, you can make up how, like, in your universe, you are in charge of how fast the ships go. If you say, oh, well, they're coming from, like, the 12th parsec, and it takes a month, then, like, it'll take a month. And then you can be like, okay, I can maybe buy that you trained a little bit of a rebel force in, like, a month or something. You know, like space is huge. It's not like it would be like unrealistic.
Yeah, absolutely. So they and again, I think part of it is also this clearly was filmed to just be the back end of one film. So there's not a whole lot. This was just meant to be like, let's get to the final battle.
Yeah. It's also like and I'm gonna bring this up later, but this movie weirdly reminds me of like epic poetry. Like
yeah,
in a way that's actually kind of interesting. Like it reminds me of the Odyssey or the Iliad if you read those. And I'm not a classicist. I'm not like well versed in those texts, but like the way that it'll be like, you know, like there'll be the part of the Odyssey where it's like, you know, talking about Odysseus like fucking his land and the farming, and then like, you know, Homer, quote unquote, goes on for however long. It's like, you know, then you make a big aside and you're like, ah, yes, and the grains and the da-da-da-da, and, you know, like it kind of feels like the movie doing that. Like, it's like, now is the time to ruminate on like farming and like make our sacrifice to Demeter or whoever the fuck, you know, like it kind of feels like, the movie is trying to do that kind of stuff, and I don't think it works at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of interesting. Like, this movie does not have, it's not just like a cookie cutter MCU movie in terms of its pacing.
No, sure isn't. Hey, speaking of pacing, I feel like before we talk about the final battle, which is like the final third of the film, we should talk about a scene that really resonated with you, Devin.
Absolutely.
Which is I don't know how else to describe this, the backstory scene.
Yes. I have so much to say about this. Yeah, so the backstory scene, actually, this is exactly what I was referring to when I was like, we'll keep talking about the epic poetry thing later. This scene is one of the weirdest things I have ever seen in like a mainstream movie. And to be clear, it doesn't work at all. It was awful to watch. I was like losing it. But the fact that they committed to the bit so hard, it almost felt like outsider art to me. So here's what happens, right? Well, first what happens before the backstory scene, but I think it happens right before. There's an uncomfortably long scene where like one of the like Nordic farmer I made you all presents, and it's like she made them all like a little like it's not even a blanket. You couldn't use it for anything. It's not.
Yeah, it's like a handkerchief.
Yeah, it's too big to be a handkerchief. It's too small to be a blanket. It's like what you would like have. It's like a standard that you would have on like a fucking pole, you know, kind of thing. So there's this uncomfortably long scene where she's giving each person their like emblem, and it's kind of like you kind of feel like Zack Snyder's in his Justice League bag almost because it's kind of like they're each getting their like superhero like identity, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you're like a wolf and you're like the mountains and you're, and she gives them like, these things that she's sewn that have the images on them.
I love there's always in every one of those instances where everyone is their different thing. There's always someone who's obviously the shittiest person who gets heart. There's always one person who gets heart.
Yeah, so like, Gunner, Dario
like
Naharis
effort.
#2, Gunner gets heart. He's literally like the fucking kid from Captain Planet.
Yeah.
Everyone else, it's like lightning, wolf, mountain, heart.
They couldn't think of anything. They're like, you have a lot of heart.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And like the thing that drove me wild about that scene, it was one thing that they were doing it, but like the first person says thank you, and then you're kind of expecting, the way like editing and cinematic pacing works, like we don't need to see every step. It's like the way you don't hear people say goodbye and then hang up in movies, like the conversation just ends because it's like, yeah, let's keep it moving, but like every single person says thank you. Like they hand it to the person, there's a long pause, and then they go, thank you. And then it's like the next person, and it's like, and you, Titus, you are strong like the mountains. Thank you. It happens like 7 times.
Yeah.
And each time you're like, oh my God, they're going to say thank you. They're going to say thank you again.
When I first saw you all ride into our village, I felt like General Titus was like the mountains themselves. Strong and unmoving.
Thank you.
Tarak, your spirit is untamable, but your nobility is undeniable, like the snow elk.
Thank you. Thank you.
Young Melius, who shines as the sun upon our faces, warming us and bringing us comfort, steadfast and true.
Thank you.
Nemesis, fierce as a storm with its flashes of lightning, but with its life-giving rain. That is the source of life. The storm is the mother of us all.
Thank you.
Gunnar, you are our heart.
Thank you.
And then right after you've gone through that level of pacing, this like arduous, like someone just kind of giving you like a little summary of what each of these people's deals are. Almost immediately after, we have this other scene where it's them all hanging out after, and they're kind of, I guess the vibe is like, before we have this big battle, you should know a thing or two about me is kind of like what each person's doing. But so like each person gets up, starts saying their backstory, which is like, what the fuck was the point of Rebel Moon Part 1 if we're gonna do all these backstories, right?
Yeah.
We get like the backs, like for example, like the Beastmaster guy, we see him like without the long hair when he was like a prince, and we see like his family getting killed by the Empire or whatever. But then it'll like, so you'll get like a flashback, like a cinematic flashback, but it's always kind of slow motion, muted audio, and then the person talking over it.
Yeah.
And then it cuts back to them, and then they tell you kind of like the Aesop's fable moral of what you should know about them based on that. So like it'll be like, and because of that, I'll never surrender. So you should know that about me before we go into battle. And it does this fucking like 6 times in a row, right?
Yeah.
And then it does Korra's, but but Korra is being a little bit, she's not being entirely honest, and you know that because hers isn't there isn't a visual component. She just says like, "Oh yeah, I'm just this," and it's like,
Yeah, and she had a previous scene with the Gunner character, Dario Naharis #2, where she already did her background story
right, yeah. So we
and
can't
explained.
get it again.
Yeah, but I thought it would have been really funny if she just retold the same story and they used the same footage.
Same scene again.
Same
Honestly,
footage.
here's the thing. If he really wants to commit to like the epic poetry form, that would be the thing to do, to be like, the repetition and the memory,
Yeah.
Because that's really weird because we see her killing the princess, and for some reason when she shoots the princess, like she's glowing.
Right.
Foreshadowing perhaps.
See, that could have been like actually a really cool scene if they replayed it, but like the scenes it's slightly different the second time she tells, and you're like, what's going on here? That could have actually been very interesting, but
yeah. So we'll get more into the princess death later, I think. But we see that happening, and it looks weird. It's like she gets shot, and then like there's like a big like glowing effect, and you're like, wait, did this really happen? Is this like a special effect to show you the immensity of it? It's almost like she's like becoming an angel or something.
Yeah.
But Ethan, as this was happening, how was it hitting you? This backstory.
I was like, surely they're not going to go one by one. So General Titus goes first. He explains how like they killed all his men, so he's never going to surrender again because the Imperium killed all of his soldiers the last time he did. And then it just goes to the next guy, which I guess is the prince goes. And I would have loved like for General Titus to be like, I'm not done yet. Hold up, because the prince is like, here's my backstory. But they literally go one by one through that.
Yeah. And it's like it never you keep expecting like, and surely they're gonna start yada-yadaing like the last 3, but it's like, no, everyone gets everything.
Yeah.
And it, like I said, it doesn't work. I almost have to respect it. Like it felt like outsider art to me because it was just such like, it was so like, it was like this person hasn't seen a movie before. And that's actually kind of interesting to be like, no, I'm just going to have 30% of my movie be people saying their backstories an hour in, basically.
But this is like Zack Snyder. He has to have like they shot some pretty extensive scenes for this, and with a shit ton of CGI and the prince could have just been like, they killed my father and destroyed my homeworld. It's one line. That's all you have to do. But they had to show it all. And so, yeah, it doesn't work in any way, but you are right in that it is so odd that they do this.
Yeah, it's such a weird combination, right? Of like Zack Snyder wants to have the full worlds in the kind of Star Wars-y way. He doesn't want to do the MCU thing of like, I'm just going to do a movie about, well, he did do a movie about Superman, but like, I'm going to do like Superman, then Batman, then Aquaman, then Wonder Woman, and then have the Justice League, right? Like, he likes to do Justice League first and then make movies about these people. And I kind of get the impulse to want to do that because you kind of like being like, oh, this is like a pre-existing world, not a world we're building. It's a world we're entering. But then he cannot help himself. He can't just have the prince say what happened to him. He needs us to see it.
Yeah.
And it's like, and all we see every time is just like more slow motion Zack Snyder shit.
Yeah. Yes, very true. And I think we talked about this with Rebel Moon Part 1, that episode where you can contrast this to the original Star Wars where Obi-Wan's like, I fought with your father in the Clone Wars. And that's like cool and interesting. You're like, ooh, what's that about? When you actually show what it's about, it's the most dog shit sort of 3 films that you can imagine. Like it would have been better as a one-off line. But Zack Snyder cannot do that. He has to have they can't just say it. He has to show us because he doesn't understand that you don't have to show everything. He has to show everything. And also he has to narrate everything as well. Like he needs to narrate like, our medical team brought you back, but it wasn't a great job. So that's why you have a scar. It's like, you don't need to tell us that. Just
You
be like,
literally could have just had him come out of the thing, look at the scar on his chest,
Yeah.
and then like kind of look towards the camera and kind of like grimace and like look like mad. And you're like, oh yeah, there it is. Like she left a mark on him. And instead it's like, he's literally like, the protagonist of the film has left a mark on me, which given that she's called the Scargiver is thematically appropriate.
And it's so, the thing I find so confounding about it is because at the same time, Zack Snyder lives through the visuals. Like he loves the egregious CGI, slow motion, like if George Lucas could have done this in 2001, he would have had a blast with the amount of CGI. But also he has to tell us everything. And so the entire film becomes bogged down in characters describing what's happening and then this egregious like CGI action scene.
Yeah, this is really the problem of Zack Snyder, because it's like, I love, for example, Speed Racer, the Wachowskis movie. Have you seen it?
I have not.
It's so good. But people at the time didn't really like it because it's like got all this absolutely bonkers CGI, right? But
Yeah.
it really is committed to just like, no, this film looks weird. This film looks different. But there isn't someone like the entire time being like, and then Speed Racer drove through the, whatchamacallit and did a 365-degree turn to.
Look at those clouds up there. They're beautiful. And it's a perfect day for a drive.
Aw, Trixie, please stop talking. I'm trying to figure something out.
Oh.
Go Speed Racer, go!
And it's like, yeah, because if Zack Snyder just committed to like, my movies are gonna look like bonkers, like I even think like he'd get more of the like I haven't really seen them, but like some people do the vulgar auteurist thing with like the Michael Bay Transformers movies, where they're like, oh, these movies are actually kind of aesthetically radical in their commitment to just like CGI chaos or whatever. And I don't know if I agree with that, but I can see where that's coming from. But you're right, Zack Snyder like wants it both ways. Like he wants to just show you a lot of shit, but like also have someone telling you exactly how you're supposed to be interpreting that. And it sucks to be looking at like, you're looking at these images and you never even get a second to be like, oh, who's this guy? That's interesting. Is he like, he must be like the king of like the third kingdom. Oh, it's always like anytime you're seeing anything, a character's explaining to you exactly what you're looking at and how you should feel about it and all this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
But anyway, that happens.
Yeah.
And it's also just like, again, like the team up part of part one had all this backstory shit in it. And I thought we were doing that so that part two would just show the team doing things. And instead, this film has even more backstory.
Yep.
Absolutely perplexing.
Yeah. So I don't know that we need to spend a ton of time on the rest of the film because the big bad comes back in their battleship or whatever, and there's a big battle, like a Seven Samurais.
Did you notice though that like multiple characters like change their haircuts for the final battle? Like
I did. I was paying
Gunner
so little
shaves.
attention. I did not
So
notice
Gunner
that.
shaves,
But, okay.
and like he is very, he has the Dario Najar's facial hair the entire 2 movies up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
He looks not good shaved, I don't think, but
Yeah. Not
and then also Cora cuts her hair.
Okay.
And she doesn't quite go back. So in the flashbacks, Cora very much has this kind of like Nazi haircut.
Yeah.
And then she kind of has like shoulder length-ish hair for most of this movie. And then for the final battle, I feel like it's not like she goes back to the Nazi haircut, but she does like kind of trim up a bit. And I'm curious about this because I'm kind of wondering if this was a reshoot thing. Like if they had to do a lot of reshoots for the final sequence. And so it was like, oh, well, like if we try to make you look like you looked the first time, it's going to look too obvious. So let's just like make you look different, or it's just Zack Snyder being like, oh, you got to look different for the final battle. I don't know. So for some reason, the characters you've known for like a movie and a half now look different for the big climactic scene.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's the big set piece, and they kill Dario Naharis 1 with a door.
And I'll say, like, if this were a video game I was playing and these are some cutscenes, like, it'd be entertaining. Like, there's some, like, oh, look, explosions, and we're flipping around and diving, and then when, like, the ship is crashing, so now we're, like, falling down the ship. It's also very silly. I don't want to get into it. But I will say the whole thing is, like, they're not going to just destroy the village because the grain is there. But then they just attack the village and blow everything up as they're doing it. And it's the grain subplot quickly subsides. You have the one second in command guy who I don't know if he's even ever named, the bad guy, the second in command to Atticus Noble, who's like, but the grain, and he's like, oh well, we kill our own guys, it'll be less. We won't need the grain as much, and that's that. So the whole grain strategy they won't attack the village because the grain just kind of goes away when they do attack the village. But they attack the village and
Bring around the main gun.
Oh, damn.
it literally feels it should be a copyright violation of the video game Star Wars Battlefront 2, because the way that it plays is like a video game where, like, you have an objective, you need to grab a rocket launcher and shoot it at the tank, and that's one of your, and if you don't, then the Imperium will reach the village and kill everyone. It's like a video game.
One of the walkers taking damage.
Target the rebels carrying missiles. They're the only true threat.
It's very, these two movies are like the most video game cutscene ass movies I've ever seen. So things that happen in this that are worth talking about. So Nemesis dies. So Nemesis is this like cyborg Jedi person. She's got like robotic arms, and like not lightsabers. And so her whole backstory that we know about because we've been told it over and over again, because she never talks, she has almost no characterization, but we are always told it's like, oh, like her children were killed. So she's very devoted to like helping children. So she's kind of got the job of like guarding like the women and the children in like a hut. So she sacrifices herself to save them. So she gets a little redemption arc, but she dies.
Yeah.
I think the emergence of Jimmy is important, right? So this is the robot voiced by Anthony Hopkins that also is the narrator of the series.
Love the way you phrased that. The emergence of Jimmy.
They should have called it Rebel Moon Part 2, The Emergence of Jimmy.
That would have been so great. And you know it's coming because they keep like panning to him where he's like off in the distance looking at what's happening. So like, okay, well, he's going to be almost a 2 on the spot Deus Ex Machina of like coming in.
He literally is a Deus Ex Machina. Like,
he really is.
Because he literally, like, the entire time you're like, it seems like whenever this guy decides to participate, he's really going to fuck shit up. And then it starts happening. And I got to admit, for a second, I was like, oh, man, it would really suck if he, like, died now, though. And it's like, no, he's God, basically. Like, he literally gets a cape. He really feels to me like this is Zack Snyder doing his, like, Henry Cavill Superman thing, where it's like, this is the guy who's, like, different. He's a different type of person. He's a different race. And he's actually just like godlike powerful, actually. Let me say that again because I said actually twice. And he's actually just like godlike powerful because he meets with like no resistance whatsoever. And but I gotta say, Jimmy, pretty cool as far as these things go. It kind of felt like it was the closest the film got to like Avatar 2 for me, like when the whales fucking shit up. Like you feel good for Jimmy because you're like, yeah, they were mean to Jimmy when he was moving the boxes in Rebel Moon 1. So it's cool that he's finally killing these guys. And then like we also Den, who is just like another one of the farmers. And I guess was in part 1. I don't remember.
I don't remember. He's cool. He's
on the
dope
cast
in this.
list. I kept thinking he was fucking Hugh Jackman. He kind of looks like a young Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
He also sacrifices himself, I would say, kind of pointlessly. Like he's just kind of being killed.
Okay.
To try to,
it feels like you're phrasing all of this to try and set yourself up for a future game.
This is just the official plot summary of the podcast that Den sacrifices himself and it accomplishes nothing. And so, yeah, so that shit all happens. Like, does anything else happen during the big set piece that's worth pointing out? Like
they blow up the ship. I mean, it ends up that Korra gets on the ship and goes and blows it up. And then they escape.
Yeah, and then we kind of just get like the aftermath. And Ray Fisher's sister shows up. That's like the turning point.
Is it? Because I feel like at that point, this is one thing I want to briefly mention. I feel like at that point, the village had won. The only people who were left are like people from the Imperium escaping in dropships, who I'm pretty sure would not be classified as enemy combatants at this point. But the rebels just like sweep in and kill all of them.
Yeah, it's a little cleanup duty-ish.
Yeah.
But so Devra Bloodaxe shows up.
Cool.
Because we all obviously remember the heroic sacrifice of Darien Bloodaxe in the climax of Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. And so there's been a big win for the Rebel forces. And then you kind of just get the denouement, people mourning, and then Korra's like, guys, remember during that background scene that lasted 45 minutes? I was lying. And Titus is like, I knew you were lying. Because when you were talking, the visuals didn't cut to a like CGI slow-mo backstory. But then he's like, also good news. You're not the killer of the princess. Because the princess is secretly alive. And then no one fucking asks, like, what do you mean? How do you know that? I, like, shot her in the head. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Everyone's just like, okay, so I guess we'll go find her then. And I guess that's, like, Rebel Moon 3.
Yeah, good thing General Titus didn't die. I guess he would have taken that to the grave with him, and that would have been it.
Yeah, maybe it's important to tell people before a giant battle in which you could have died your secret and important information.
Oh, well.
Write it down at least. Like have a will or something.
Yep, got to set up the next film.
And this is just now to go back to the original Korra flashback.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think, like, in that moment when she gets shot and she's glowing, I don't know about you. Are you already thinking, like, okay, she's not really dead? Something weird's going on here.
I knew something weird was going on, and I feel like it wouldn't have made sense to have her be killed by Korra, Zack Snyder, because then it's sort of like, well, Korra did kill this child. We're going to everything else is fine. The fact that she slaughtered probably thousands of people across multiple worlds, because we don't really get into this, because those people are just normal people. They're not superheroes like the princess. You can't kill a superhero in a Zack Snyder film because then you're bad. So I figured something was up.
Because she was giving her father ideas. It was the idea, like,
I want to get into this when we talk about the whole royal family and that. But I had a sneaking suspicion that the princess, we were not done with. It was almost like they were setting her up as a character for a future film that is definitely not going to happen. This is what we're doing now, right? We're preparing for the game we're about to do. We're just trying to score points ahead of time of
but see, I just want to say, so you're talking about a sequel, right? This would be a sequel. This would be Rebel Moon Part 3, not really a spin-off, but like a continuation of the main story, like a sequel.
Perhaps.
Anyway, that's Rebel Moon Part 2. The Scargiver. All right, so welcome back. It's the part of the podcast where we usually play a game, and we've been joined by multi-time guest and purveyor of the Oscars stream game, Katie Denham. Katie, say hi to everybody.
Hello.
Who will be serving as judge, and I'll explain exactly how this game worked shortly. But Katie, before we jump in, as a result of having to judge this game, you also had to unfortunately watch Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. What did you think?
Well, to quote Harry Styles, you know what I liked most about it was that it was a movie.
Is it though? Is it really a movie?
I don't really know. I just kept looking at Ethan saying, what are we watching? What is happening here? I also wonder too, like, how many of those people owed somebody like a favor? Because Sir Anthony Hopkins, what are you doing here?
Easy paycheck.
So this is something I actually know. So credit to the Blank Check podcast, which we don't need to give credit to them. They're one of the most popular podcasts in the world, and nobody listens to this. But I did get this from them. They bring this up often. Anthony Hopkins likes to he will receive certain scripts and read the lines they want him to be doing, like the scenes they want him to be doing, and he will write in the margins NAR. And I guess he'll like take the film if it's primarily or entirely NAR on his part. He's like, oh well, this is like an easy paycheck. Do you guys want to guess what NAR stands for?
Not acting role, non-acting role.
Pretty close. Pretty close. It's no acting required. So this to me is a classic no acting required thing for Anthony Hopkins. He probably, I hope he got his pool refinished.
Yeah. Good on him.
Absolutely. That is, I feel, I am flabbergasted, honestly. I'm flabbergasted that this got made, but then I also realized too that it's like Zack Snyder, so it's like it tracks.
Yeah, well, this is sort of the thing about Zack Snyder is like, are Zack Snyder films like necessarily successful? No, but are they guaranteed to like attract a certain percentage of the worst people in the world to spend the rest of their lives arguing that it's actually good? Definitely. And so we'll talk about this later, but I like that like Netflix has just baked in a Snyder Cut already. As far like before the first film was even released, they've already planned the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, I mean, in a future where films are just this unabashed like product to be consumed, then having two films for the price of one essentially is like a great asset for conglomerates like Netflix, where they could be like, well, this is essentially we thought we were just getting one Rebel Moon, but actually we're getting two, and actually we're really sort of getting four right off the bat.
Yeah.
And they're all going to be number one hits for some reason on Netflix. This is his third consecutive Netflix number one hit. So
yeah, whatever the fuck that means.
Yeah, whatever that means.
Man, I watched part one with my dad because it was like it came out during Christmas. And my dad during the credits just kept going like, hey, for a Netflix movie? For a Netflix movie? And I'm just like, okay, so you're saying like it sucks, but Netflix movies suck. And it's like, well, just watch some, there are real movies out there. But yeah.
it just makes me really sad for the future of filmmaking because, like, the thing is that this is not going to be like an anomaly. This is like in the, era of streaming and like having productions that are multi-million dollar productions that are not good, but they are getting made like at a fast rate. It's just like, Christ, it's like,
Yeah.
this feels not good to me.
This feels like a great point for me to quote directly from the Wikipedia here. And I'm sure we'll talk about the future of this, Devin, in a bit. But to quote, in April 2024, co-writer Kurt Johnstad announced that though original plans were for a trilogy of movies, the franchise will eventually consist of a total of 6 films, explaining that the stories for each original installment have been expanded into 2 parts. So they've already just said, like, we're going to make them each 2 parts. And this, I guess, is the future. Like this, here's my belief. We could have stopped it with either Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2. And I know, Devin, you love Part 1. And Part 1 is way better than Part 2. We could have stopped it with Twilight. The fact that we didn't stop it then means like this is the future of filmmaking. And you be, oh, well, they're going to turn the last part into a 2-parter. Now they're going to turn every film into a 2-parter. So
yeah,
great.
Especially with streaming, because streaming's just content. So it's like, well, why, if we shot all this footage, why edit it down? It's going to suck either way, right?
Yeah.
But also, let's see if these films actually happen, right? Because I'm getting flashbacks to like, untitled DC event film that was supposed to come out like this month, like.
Yeah, but that's because it is like Netflix no longer shares like how many viewers they have. They just share viewership time, like how many eyeballs, the amount of time is being spent. So like,
which are all made up numbers.
Oh, absolutely. But it's like, this is the sort of shit content that that's an extra 6 hours instant.
Yeah. But it's all like, we'll talk about this later. So, let's just get into the game.
Anyhow, there's a game that we're doing.
So speaking of, we've talked about how predictable this movie was. So what Ethan and I did is we each tried to come up with 3 predictions for things that were going to happen in the film. And we will be giving Katie to judge these and to award points. And Katie, I want to give you a lot of power here. So this isn't...
Okay.
I don't think this should be simply a objective, it was either right or wrong and you get 1 point. I think you can award as many points as you want to any prediction. And so if one's like, if the degree of difficulty was high and you feel like you want to reward that, you can give more points. If you feel it was like partially right, you can give partial points. You have complete autonomy about how you use your points. And I think as part of this, we shouldn't just state our predictions, but I think we should also make the case for why our prediction was correct.
As Devin has been doing through our plot synopsis with
absolutely.
If the audience was wondering like, wow, he's really fixated on this one thing. So that's why.
We should put ourselves, I think this is like we're appealing to the judge and we are making the case for each of our predictions. How do you feel about that, Ethan?
That's great. Yeah. Katie will be she is the Rebel Moon, the Scargiver. We'll see who gets the Scoregiver.
Scoregiver. Sorry, Devin. I'm sorry. I thought that question was geared towards me. I didn't realize somebody else was answering that.
Yeah. Wow, Devin. Wow. Let's get into it. I guess we'll go one by one. You go, then I go, or
absolutely.
Okay. So, Katie, my first prediction is that we encounter some sort of evil Rebel Moon during the movie. So that's what I typed out as my prediction. And here's what I want to here's my adding some weight to what you might be saying we didn't see an evil Rebel Moon. But I'd like you to think of a Rebel Moon is not necessarily a satellite of a planet. A Rebel Moon is a state of mind. And in that way, we got to see the inside workings of the Dario Naharis #1's like big bad battleship. We don't see inside it pretty much at all in the first film, but now we see the engine room. We see that I guess it runs on coal, which is weird for a spaceship, but we see the coal rooms. We see the people who are manning the the giant laser gun that's going to destroy the village. And so what is the enemy, the evil battleship, if not an evil rebel moon? It is the yang to the yin of the good, very Scandinavian coded farmer village that the heroes are all staying in. So that is my claim, that we do encounter an evil rebel moon. The rebel moon is, and it really speaks to the heart of this, like, it's an artificial piece. It's not even a natural planet. It is the imperial ship. So that's my claim for
so your
this
argument is that there is an evil rebel moon because there is the opposite of that in the film. Something that is not the rebellious North moon.
Oh, so you get to make counterclaims now? Is that how this game's working, Devin?
No,
you get to try to undercut my argument?
What you were saying.
Interesting though that you go with that, because when you first said encounter some sort of evil rebel moon, I'm like, oh, so like the goodies are the baddies. I'm like, well, what about the war crimes at the end of the film? So
it really makes you think.
It's really interesting that you didn't go that aspect on it. If you had done that aspect, I would have awarded you more points. However, we already know that the baddies are the baddies. So, all right, well, there was effort.
All right, Devin's gonna share his that is like the most wrong that it could possibly be, but he's the most
objectively correct. It is objectively correct.
So wrong. Go on, Devin.
So my first prediction is for Rebel Moon Part 2, the Scargiver, is no scars are actually given. So few points here. One, the degree of difficulty for this one is huge. There's a movie called The Scargiver, and yet I'm predicting no scars are given. So if I'm right, this should be worth a lot of points, because the movie is basically telling me I'm wrong in the title. But I want to argue I am completely right. So here's the thing. Evil Dario Naharis, Richard Spencer guy, before he even knows he has a scar in his chest, refers to Cora as the Scargiver. This means, by definition, she has already given some kind of metaphorical or real scar in the past before the movie starts, right? So we know she's already actually been the Scargiver. We don't see her become it. Later, then we see the scar on his chest, and he's like, oh, how appropriate to get a scar from the Scargiver, right? So he is saying, this scar was given to me by Cora, right? He's not saying this scar was given to me by the people healing me or anything. They didn't do a good enough job. He's saying, this scar was given to me by Cora, which means it was given to him when Cora stabbed him in the chest. When did Cora stab him in the chest? Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. No. So what we see in Part 2 is the reveal that he was given a scar in Part 1, but no scars are actually given out in Part 2.
The scar is like he was given the wound in Part 1, but a scar is what happens after the healing process. And so
the scar was given. The scar was given. When does Cora give him the scar then?
It's when it doesn't heal correctly.
She's the Scargiver. So when did she give him the scar?
It would be like saying
the end of Part 1.
It'd be like saying I got my degree and the year you give is the year you started the program. It's like you're awarded it.
Okay,
at
so
the
if you
end
had a
of
scar,
the process.
if you had a scar on your face, and I asked you how did you get that scar, would you say due to a healing process that occurred weeks after an injury I had?
I wouldn't, because we all understand that's how scars
with a hook or something.
That's how scars develop. Anyway, okay, Katie, yeah.
So that's my case.
Okay, so your prediction, right, is that no scars are actually given in like respect to Cora, giving people scars?
Well, in the movie, I don't think any
scars. She gives him the biggest scar. She cuts him in half.
That's not a scar. She fucking cuts him in half.
That's dismemberment. It's not a scar.
That is my case. I leave it. I don't need to convince you, Ethan. I trust Katie to see the reason here and also understand what a difficult prediction this was.
Okay, continue on. I have awarded my points. Go on.
Yeah. My second prediction is we are introduced to a character clearly designed for a spinoff that is never going to happen. And this could be here's the reason why this is such a shoe-in to me. Because Zack Snyder decides to give every single character a backstory and like films it, we're introduced to like 30 different characters that could be like a prequel series. Like the prince could, like, his whole royal family situation could be a whole
so your
prequel.
point is that there are characters in the movie. That's your argument.
But he didn't introduce those in this movie.
We didn't see the king and queen, all of the prince's people.
Oh, so you think there's going to be a spinoff about like the dead parents of the
I think
Beastmaster
Zack
guy?
Snyder would love for that to be the case. This like weird 1920s New York world.
This prediction is non-falsifiable because you say for a spinoff that is never going to happen, which means we have to wait until Zack Snyder dies to know if this prediction was correct. So this was a poorly done prediction by you.
I'm just saying it was designed for a spinoff, and if those flashbacks were not designed for spinoffs, then like, what were we doing? What were we doing? Like, why do we have all these flashbacks? On top of that, the flashback with the princess that, like, we're introduced to the fact that she's apparently magical in this film, and we end the film.
We were introduced to that in the first film.
But the fact that she's shot and somehow is alive, to me, is a reintroduction to the possibilities of that character. I'm just gonna. I don't have hours to spend on this. I think, to me, you could choose any of the 5,000 characters introduced in this, and it could be a
almost
spin-off.
No characters were introduced in this movie is one thing. They were all introduced in part one. And I have looked up an article in the Economic Times. Will a Rebel Moon spinoff happen? And they suggest 2 spin-offs may happen, one about General Titus and one about the Beastmaster Prince, both of whom were introduced in Rebel Moon Part 1.
But the families were introduced in Part 2. So just that's my point.
Those are supporting characters. They're not going to make a movie about the parents.
I didn't say we're introduced to a primary character. I just said we're introduced to a character. So take that as you will, Katie.
Listen, that Prince is like Prince Naveen coded. I feel like a lot of the people and a lot of the characters are like knockoffs of Disney characters. Or that's just because it's like, stereotypes and tropes. But he's like very Naveen coded. And like his dress in his flashback looks like Prince Naveen from Princess and the Frog. Anyway.
So maybe what will help here, Katie, as you're tallying your points, let's have Devin share his second prediction and see how that compares to the viability of my prediction. Go on, Devin.
Well, I would argue my second prediction, while also wrong, I'm at least not going to lie about it. Except now, I guess I will. So my second prediction was that Richard Spencer guy betrays or kills the Ever Emperor dude, and that obviously doesn't happen.
Ed Screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I thought he might have a turn. That obviously doesn't happen. And if Ethan had also admitted that he was clearly wrong about his second prediction, I would leave it at that. But I'm going to make the case that Richard Spencer's maniacal commitment to defeating Korra and his overinvestment of Imperial resources in this meaningless battle for meaningless grain is like setting up the Empire for its future fall. So whether he intended to or not, Richard Spencer's actions are helping to ultimately bring about the end of the Empire. And I think that is just as credible as the idea that like introducing parents of a character in a flashback qualifies for your spin-off thing. I would love to have 0 points as long as Ethan's also getting 0 points.
I love the commitment. I do. I love the hustle to get this done. However, I will say that's because that prediction is based on something that is happening in the future. I don't know if we can say that like that came true or not.
Much like we can't say that this spin-off is never going to happen.
That's also true. Okay. Yeah. All right, continue on.
My third prediction, third and final, is, quote, during the climax of the final battle, there will be a drawn-out slow motion scene where it looks like the heroes are about to lose or die, but then, still in slow motion, some Deus Ex Machina bullshit happens where suddenly their fortunes change at the last minute and they are able to win the day. the worst music you have ever heard plays during this scene. So,
Like knock off Lord of the Rings.
all of the reason why Lord of the Rings music works is because it's in like Elvish, whereas this just has some person singing like "It fields of barley." It's like not. It doesn't work. It's not. I see what he's trying to do. It's like we talked about Devin with like the epic poem. He's trying to make it this like the back. So I think that's terrible music. And there is a literal Deus Ex Machina in the robot Jimmy, who drops down and destroys all the things. So that's what I'll say. I think that this, and there's egregious slow motion throughout the final battle. So that's my claim.
My counter argument here is predicting there would be egregious slow motion in a Zack Snyder movie is such an obvious prediction. I think you should get negative points.
That's bullshit. What did we predict? Oh, your prediction was too good? Sorry.
Yeah, no,
you predicted a thing that
it's too easy.
Makes sense would happen.
Here's the thing. It's almost like predicting this film would have dialogue.
Yes. I just think it was too obvious. I think it was too obvious. I don't think you should get you should get some points for being right, but I don't think you should get many points.
I will say you did limit your prediction to one time of the Equalizer. There were like
Yeah. No, it says, if I'm reading the words here, it says there will be a drawn out slow motion scene. A drawn out slow motion scene.
Not at least one. And there were many times where like people were like, oh, we're just down and out. And then like things happen. And there were like multiple climaxes.
So now that Devin has established that predictable Zack Snyder plot points don't make sense and shouldn't be given any points, Devin, what is your third prediction?
So at least 3 people sacrifice themselves, and it seems like the sacrifices don't really accomplish much or weren't worth it. I don't think I hit 3 here, but I'm gonna lobby for partial credit because I think so. Den's sacrifice, the farmer guy, to me clearly accomplishes nothing. He jumps into the ship. If he had brought the ship down, I would have been like, hey, he sacrificed himself to bring the ship down. But he doesn't. He just jumps into the ship. He looks cool for a second, and then he dies. So that is clearly, I think, 1. Nemesis, I guess she kind of protects the kids for a little bit. I think that's like a half, maybe. There isn't really a third, I guess. I'm actually surprised more people didn't die. But again, I think predicting 3 sacrifices is significantly bolder than predicting there will be slow motion and there will be pacing to the action scenes. So I think the degree of difficulty should be a factor here as well.
I had a problem with, I will say, I don't think that you should get partial credit for Nemesis. I think I would give you full credit because all those people had guns. She didn't need to die. She didn't need to
that's
die.
The thing. Why is she the only one? Why is she doing the everyone stand there while I go? It was only done to redeem her on a character level, and it wasn't actually the narrative didn't establish why she actually needed to do that.
I love how when she dies, the soldier guy's like, oh no, and then runs over is like, oh, you're dying in my arms, which was just what you've been here the whole time, my dude. What? Yeah.
I just think that Zack Snyder hates women. So anyway, continue on.
That's it. Those are our 3.
Those were our 3 predictions.
Before we conclude, Katie, I think you had a few predictions. Could you share with us what your 3 predictions were for this film?
I just remembered my one. Do you remember my others?
No.
Okay, great. I do. I just remember the one that I had, which was I did. Cora and Makil Husman would fuck. I did get that one right.
Is that Dario Naharis too?
Yeah.
Did he die?
No.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Yes,
wait, who we?
Gunnar didn't die.
Yeah, he died. What are you talking about? That's I want to talk about that scene.
Did he?
Yeah, that's
here it is. Okay. But later dies from his injuries. That's how little of an impact this movie had on me.
I want to talk. It's my favorite line of the film when he's dying. So I'll talk about that later. So yes, he does die.
Okay. So Devin,
Did he? Oh,
that's
that's another one. Did his sacrifice accomplish anything?
Yeah, he like helped kill he literally stabbed Ed Screen's character through the heart with
I don't know. Did that really need?
That's what killed it. He was about to kill Cora. Like that is not. I will not give you any credit for this.
I don't know. Again, I think it's kind of like a nemesis
Rebel Moon
situation
Part
in
2.
which
Bullshit.
Snyder
he killed the
making
main
stuff.
bad guy. He killed the main bad guy.
So I did say that they were gonna fuck, which is probably like a gimme. So whatever.
All right, so 69 points for Katie.
I also did predict, but we don't have any. We can't base this prediction anywhere. I did predict that Cora ended up pregnant because, like, that's when the man dies. That's always what happens after you have unprotected sex. So my third prediction was that Dario 1 would be replaced with Dario 2, and they would do like a little switcheroo. But that didn't happen. This is not Game of Thrones.
They could bring back, we don't know, like in Rebel Moon 3, they could use the technology to bring Gunner back, but now he's evil. This could happen.
Yeah,
and then
Gunner
he has a child, and then it becomes a whole Darth Vader kind of situation.
Is it a Darth? Yeah.
Well,
that's actually...
if we want to say that things that may happen are back on the table, sure.
I'm just saying we may have to come back and retroactively, award additional points.
That's what the people want. They want to know more. Okay. All right, Katie.
We will release a Zack Snyder director's cut of this episode with new points given out.
So let me just quickly tally up the points. Ethan was a resounding 20 points.
Wow. Knowing not what the scale is, I'm assuming it's out of 20. Thank you so much.
Devin with a resounding 22 points.
That's bullshit.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Wow.
But we all know that the real winner is Katie.
Yeah.
Finally, Ethan goes down.
Wow. This is why I need to be in control of the game.
Does he usually play? Does he usually win?
It's usually just me losing. He's usually just like the game master. So do you want to break down, Katie, for us how the points came out?
No, but I will. So Ethan, I did take notes as you all were telling me things. Ethan encounters some sort of evil rebel moon. No.
Wow.
But I did give you 5 points because you were very passionate about what you were saying.
Okay.
Devin, no scars are actually given in the film. I don't know if I agree with you, but you did bring up some really good points. So I gave you 7 points for that. Introduce a character for backstory. While I thought it was a good prediction, based on the counter argument, I did end up giving it 0 points.
Wow. Well, you'll have to revise that later. So now we know that this will be bunk in 2 years' time.
When General Titus the movie comes out, we will confirm that it's 0 points.
And then,
I believe in you, Snyder.
For Devin's second prediction,
if you gave him any points, I'll be livid.
I put Richard Spencer Man, and then out to the side I put 0 points.
Okay, good.
I'm completely okay with both of those getting 0.
For Ethan's third, I don't even know what you said, so I gave 15 points. And then just to even it up, I also don't know what Devin said, so I put 15 points.
All right. So it all came down to Evil Moon versus No Scars Given.
God damn it.
Buzzer beater.
Wow.
I think No Scars being given is closer to being true than an Evil Rebel Moon is. So I think this is the appropriate result.
Ethan, if you had gone into like the war crimes of the resistance, shooting down just all of the like people who are just trying to escape the thing, I would have given you more points. But instead, you did something dumb. You made a dumb
Anyways,
argument.
yeah, they do just kill. It's because they already have Cora is the bad guy turned good. General Titus turned good, and the one soldier from the first film turned good. You can't have more than 3. All others must die. All others
That
are
is pretty whack, isn't it? That
irredeemable.
like the rebels are like mostly reformed soldiers, but they're just like, well, we shouldn't talk to any of these people to see like if they got pressured into this or anything.
This is Zack Snyder, and also like everybody besides Ed Screen's character is like, wait, shoot the village? Like that seems. What are we doing here? But I feel like Zack Snyder's like, we can't deal. Like, could you imagine part 3 having to deal with the fact that some of the soldiers lived? I don't want to deal with that plot point. Let's just kill them all so we can move on to the next plot. So, cool.
Yeah, I love that. Would you all like a couple of like fun facts that I have?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So you know our dear friend Ed Screen?
Yes.
Yes.
He actually doesn't have a whole lot of credits, like movie credits. I think he like started acting in earnest in like the 2011, like, you know what I mean? Like he was not super, he doesn't have a whole lot of like credits on IMDb. How many of those credits do you think are like Nazi adjacent?
Ooh.
So you've got Rebel Moon 1 and 2. He's in Alita Battle Angel, which has Nazi stuff, right? The other Zack Snyder film. So that's at least 3, and I'm gonna guess there's a 4th.
There is a 4th. It's All the Light We Cannot See. He plays like an actual Nazi. Yeah.
Oh, so it's good to get some real world experience for when you're playing.
I do feel bad for him because, like, you know, like, oh man, you really have gotten like pigeonholed into this. He was also in a did you ever watch the movie Pearl Harbor?
Yeah.
Okay, with like, you know, Josh Hartnett and
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck and Kate Beckinsale.
He was in that? That was like long ago.
No, I didn't say he was in it.
Oh.
There was another movie made called Midway that was like Pearl Harbor adjacent. He played in it. And then guess who his romantic lead was?
Who?
Mandy Moore. And that's all I have.
Can I say what his character's name in Midway was? Dick Best.
Nice.
Also, I think we have to amend it to 5 Nazi adjacent characters because it looks like he played the racist cop in If Beale Street Could Talk as well.
It's the jawline. He just has that like and the cheekbone structure.
Yeah. He's also in something called Taco Bell Fry Again.
Oh, yep. Another Nazi role.
As the time fryer.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Yeah, man.
He's in Taco Bell as Herman Goering. All right.
You know that Taco Bell was like one of the main outputs of Operation Paperclip. You know, we need to bring the Nazis over to figure out how to offer Americanized Mexican food at an affordable price in a fast casual setting.
And it worked.
We should also make a disclaimer here at Screen. We do not think that you are a Nazi.
I don't sign on to this. I don't have enough evidence one way or another. So we'll see what happens in Rebel Moon Part 3 when he's reanimated.
Please don't get sued, Ethan.
He seems like he's very private.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to listen to this.
The mother's identity of his children, it says.
Oh.
I kind of respect that, you know. But hopefully he's not revealing it because she's a prominent Nazi or something.
Who knows? Who knows? All right. Well, Katie, thank you so much. Despite your incorrect judgment, we appreciate you adjudicating this game.
Katie, thank you for doing a fantastic job of judging and of allocating points.
Devin, you are so welcome. It's always so wonderful to be with you. Ethan, fuck you. Have a wonderful night.
All right, so long, Katie.
Thank you so much. Bye.
So, big shout out to those of you who are still with us. To those that listened to the very first episode you listened to was with Sam Catlin doing this amazing analysis of cruising. And they're like, well, a new episode just dropped. Let me see what else this podcast does. And this is, you've heard us talk for an hour about Rebel Moon Part 2, the Scargiver.
Coherently, I might add.
Oh, yeah. So thank you to anyone who stuck it out. What can be said about Rebel Moon Part 2? What are the big things we want to talk about? I'll tell you one, Devin, the greatest line of perhaps any Zack Snyder film. We could think of all of the like you think of Empire Strikes Back, I love you, I know, like those sort of classic moments. We'll always have Paris, whatever. As Dario Naharis 2 is dying, which you forgot happens.
Yes.
Cora says the best possible thing you could say in that moment as your lover is dying. Do you recall what she says to him?
Absolutely not.
As he's laying there with a gunshot wound, bleeding to death, she says to him, why can't I have this one thing? Which is incredible.
Oh my God. It's really about you.
Yeah. She's like, she's having a really bum day. It's just like, she just really needed this one thing and she can't have it. And that's so sad.
She like fucking dropped her latte.
Can you imagine dying and the person that you've just been fucking for 5 days? It's probably not serious. And what she says as you are bleeding to death is, why can't I just have this one thing? Anyways.
Yeah. But I do wonder if this speaks to, what we've been kind of alluding to as the overarching philosophy of Zack Snyder films.
Uh-huh.
Which is that no matter whatever his politics are, I think aren't really meaningful because like his understanding of politics is completely fairy tale-ish, right?
Yeah.
But even as he's, I think, tried to defend himself against accusations of being a conservative, he has just, it's not about liberal conservative here. It's about like him having like a fundamentally like Randian view of the world, which is that some people are just better than other people.
Yeah.
Inherently, right? And so like the characters here operate on different scales, right? Like the heroes in this film are gods, right? And like we said, Gunnar is the one like human who gets to get like a fucking symbol and it's like the heart, because he's just sort of like, he's like, I guess, in the position of the god, or the guy that's fucking a god, right?
Yeah. And I'll say, I'll push back slightly in that what's maybe a little different from a Randian perspective is what the greatest danger to these Ubermensch that exist is, Ayn Rand would be like, well, it's communism and it's people who want to have a good life that are stopping them from progress. Whereas for Zack Snyder, it's other people who are also better than everyone else, but just decide to be evil. And so that's maybe a slight distinction, but otherwise, absolutely.
I guess the Randian perspective would be that the great people are just great, right? And whatever they want to do is inherently great. Whereas Zack Snyder's like, but does think there are people that are greater than other people, but thinks we need to be on the side of the good, great people.
Yes.
So like, because of that, like to Cora, Gunnar dying, it's like an aunt that she had become friends with dying. But despite that, this film does try to do something with like economics, right? Like it's kind of weird how because Justice League doesn't really do that, right? But this film, unlike Justice League, does kind of like admit the existence of like labor and economics, and it's all about grain on some level, right? And so on the surface, if you're telling me like there's a movie about like a like rebellion against an evil state that hinges on like agricultural production, that sounds like that's actually going to be something pretty cool. That's going to like get me in my like fucking like Marxist bag in some way. And yet this ends up falling flat to me. Why do you think it doesn't work?
And I totally agree with you here. And I mean, part of it may be that Zack Snyder is wholly uninterested in having those sorts of conversations, given what he feels about the almost this like, great person theory of history that he seems to believe in. But it's also it's this aspect. I think of Jimmy the robot has this line at one point. I can't recall what it is. It's been hours since I watched this film. But he says essentially like, this is what they fear the most. That you, Cora, and I, Jimmy the robot, find solidarity and realize that we're on the same side.
Is that why you saved Sam?
I'm not certain. I know only that the thought of her being hurt or destroyed opened a part of me that had been closed.
You're choosing a side, James. You and I are alike, designed to kill for them. Understand, their nightmare is you and I fighting together. Not because we're ordered or commanded, but to defend something we love.
And you hear that, you're like, yeah, that's what it's about. Seeing that, like, through solidarity, we actually are the majority, and like the entire Imperium crumbles down when faced with that sort of class solidarity. But it's almost like, again, Zack Snyder's like, he has to have the audio line to like say a thing, but then he doesn't do anything with it.
Yeah. Well, because he thinks solidarity is something that needs to be taught to these people from on high by these greater individuals, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like he wants there to be like this heroic vanguard, right? Rather than it being a organic phenomenon of like the working class understanding their own conditions, right? And I think like, it reminds me of shit going on in university campuses right now, where students have much more sophisticated understandings of the geopolitical situation than university administration and a lot of professors do. And then it's like, I see all these fuckheads online being like, oh, well, these kids don't really understand the issue. So the reason they're acting this way is because they have a very simplistic understanding. It's like, no, they have the more sophisticated understanding than you, but you have positioned yourself as like this like enlightened individual. But like, that is the only thing Zack Snyder can imagine saving us.
Yeah. And I think I put a note as I was watching the film, because they like immediately drop in all of these fucking tanks and like swarm. I'm just like, wow, what did they look through their telescope and see a Palestinian flag in the fucking village? Because the speed at which they called in the military was very swift. It's but that is, Zack Snyder cannot. Like he wants to have this liberatory theme, because I think he at least, right, Zack Snyder at least recognizes that is more appealing. Like that there's more to that than just the cookie cutter superhero narrative, but he can't. But it has to be superheroes. It's like superheroes have to do the liberation. So, yeah.
And I think that's part of what makes it not work for me, right? Is that it's this uncanny valley. Because it's not like I'm being like, oh, the superhero movie needs to have like, to be realist, right? But it's like this weird grafting of like realism onto fantasy that doesn't actually feel productive to me, right? It just kind of feels like a Frankenstein's monster of sorts. Whereas like part of what makes Star Wars work is that it is mythic, right?
Yeah.
And when Star Wars starts talking about like the fucking Trade Federation is when most people get off the bus. And it's yeah. And it kind of just feels like to me also in like a metatextual level, Zack Snyder thinks he is this hero that is going to save us from cinematic hell, but he's actually just serving us our own damnation.
Yeah, and it's even, and maybe this will get hate, I don't know, but the place where Star Wars to me almost falls a bit flat is the most iconic moment, which is when Darth Vader's like, well, he doesn't actually say it, but the phrase that everyone remembers is, Luke, I am your father. Like, Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. Hey, that's me. And it's like, it actually was better when Luke was just some farming kid that went and destroyed the Death Star. It showed like the possibility of that. And then it sort of gets undercut in this inevitableness of, no, actually the Skywalkers are like, they have the most midichlorians. So that's actually what's happening here.
Yeah, they're genetically superior, right?
Yeah. And Zack Snyder, to his credit, at least immediately cuts to, it has to be these super people that can save us from the Imperium. But that it falls flat there. And all. So let's like step even one step beyond this, which is where the film kind of ends and where Zack Snyder seemingly wants it to go, which is that the theme going forward is essentially the restoration of a feudal regime.
Yeah.
And the way it's presented through speaking lines, because Zack Snyder must narrate everything, is that here's essentially the central problem in this universe. The king, played by what's his name from The Princess Bride, Carrie Ellis.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. He was about to be good. Let's ignore the fact
he was a bad king.
Yeah.
But he was about, because his daughter has been giving him ideas. She's been looking at TikTok and whispering into his ear about like socialism or something.
Yeah, so he was about to be, even like, let's ignore all the flashbacks where the Imperium does destroy like every world that it comes across for no given, just to do it. But he was about to be good, and the reason why it doesn't work out is because this other guy who's a bad guy who just wants to keep being bad, like there's no real reason why Belisarius is doing what he's doing other than like, no, I don't want us to be good. I want us to keep being bad guys. He stops the king this is the hilarious thing, like literally one day before they're about to become a good Imperium.
Under the healing influence of his daughter, the king had begun to see many things in a different light. It was the dedication of what would be the last Dreadnought-class battleship, a symbolic end to an age of expansion. In accordance with tradition, the king would dedicate every ship, but not this time. This would be the princess's first royal duty, her first official act. The ship would be named Peacemaker and bear her royal seal.
And so the solution to this is not that like the Imperium is bad and this whole system, like, look at how it perpetuates itself. It's like, no, what we need to do is put the princess in charge. We need to, it's like this fucking Anastasia. If only Anastasia was put back in control of the Russian Empire, it would be a force for good. We need to stop the bad guys.
I'll take it one further. The princess is Hillary Clinton. The king is Obama and Belisarius is Trump, right? And so it's like, oh, the system was getting good and just getting better, right?
And Cora is John.
But then it got fucked up. But this is actually part of what's interesting about the film. Maybe is because it actually can't have an explanation for why this happens, right? Other than it's just like, oh, Belisarius is bad, right? But it's
Yeah.
the same way that like when liberals after the Trump election were like, "Oh, I just wish I could go back to like 2015." And it's
Yeah.
like, so that means you want to go back to the world that had the conditions that were about to produce the outcome of Trump getting elected, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Like that is your utopia, right? And it's like what this film can't see is actually what's maybe most interesting about it is what are the social relations, what are the tendencies that don't allow the Imperium to become good, even if the person in charge of it wants it to be.
Yeah, exactly. And that it's almost like a yearning for 2015. Like not even a recognition that like, oh, we were all ignorant. Like the liberal order was ignorant of what's
the whole time.
Yeah, you just say like, no, actually things were just good in 2015 and we need to get back to things being good like this. So it's just a rejection of what is staring you directly in the face. Like you look at all these cutscenes. The Imperium was bad. We don't want this. This is not a thing. And even the explanation of how it was about to be good, he's like, okay, we're gonna build one more battleship, the Destroyer of Worlds battleship. But this is the last one, and we're gonna name it like the USS Peacebringer. And that is okay, like because we name it that. I forget what he says it was gonna be named, but this last battleship that they're christening was going to be named like the Peacebringer, and somehow like that is everything is fine if you've done that. It's like no, it's not. This is a world destroyer. So yeah,
it's literally like it's like Obama. It's like November 7th, 2016, and Obama is on his way to like personally write in Sharpie on a drone that's about to like bomb a Yemeni wedding, like hashtag I'm with her.
Yeah.
But then, the 2016 election happens, probably due to a little bit of interference,
Oh yeah.
And now everything's fucked up. Right.
Yeah. And that's why like all this criticism about Zack Snyder sort of being a fascist, I think belies the more obvious reality that he's a liberal. And it's like that to me is a more astute conversation to be had about all of this.
Well, and that's actually what makes his films kind of interesting, right? Because he actually has what is a fundamentally liberal worldview, but he tells liberal stories with Randian superhero figures. Like he elevates liberal figures to both villains and heroes to these kind of like superheroic proportions, right? And it's kind of like it's this grotesque zooming in. It's like in Gulliver's Travels when he's like grossed out by the giant people because he can like see inside their pores and stuff. It's like, and then to the liberal, then looking at a liberal worldview, they are like, that's tending towards fascism. And it's like, exactly. Like, exactly right, dude.
Yeah. And then, but like this, it is spot on because what is Cora if not Robert Mueller? And just like if this person who's like clearly a part of the bad regime, but is the hero that is going to save us all from the bad guys. And obviously doesn't end up doing that because let's be clear, the only reason that anything bad happened to all these people on this planet is because Cora showed up and caused a whole mess of things. So
yeah, I mean, essentially, I think like they were fucking with him a little, before they knew Cora was there. But
that's true. That's true.
They definitely make it. They kind of make it worse. But it's like you kind of get the sense that like Zack Snyder's Utopia is a like universe spanning empire that just like more benignly produces grain so that it can then go and take over the universe.
But this is again now I'm all fired up on the Zack Snyder liberalism because if you remember the scene right before shit goes bad is Ed Skrein, Atticus Noble saying like, we will leave, but you, Cora, need to come with us. I need to take you back to the homeworld, and I'm going to get my Senate seat, but I'll leave the village. But then Gunnar is like, no, I'm fucking this woman. I'm going to initiate I'm just going to like not allow that to be a possibility. And this is the like, no, like we need to, the only possibility is renominating Joseph Biden in 2024. Like this, like you can't, there's no other reality that we can pursue here. We can't actually resolve this in a way that the villagers all just get to live. They all can and must and should die so that the big characters in our universe get to duke it out. So we're fucked. Yeah.
So speaking of we're fucked, one last thing I'd like to talk about before we put on the pants.
Yeah.
Is the future of Rebel Moon. These films are producing something that I want to call the Snyder effect. Which, and you know, we've compared these films to video games. And it kind of reminds me of the way that, due to various labor practices and whatnot, AAA video game title production has tended, which is they release a game that like isn't complete or sometimes doesn't even work, and then it is finished after the fact, right?
Yeah.
And then like you're also going to buy a DLC and whatnot.
Yeah.
The Zack Snyder movies now, it's like before they're even coming out, we're already being told like, don't worry, you're getting R-rated director's cuts. And it's like a weird thing about Zack Snyder where he's sort of this auteur in the sense of not necessarily filmic quality, but like getting to like make films that are like very much his projects. But it's like, why not just make why didn't you just make the Rebel Moon you wanted to make? Like, what is your statement? And it seems like he's almost become addicted to this like kind of like endless refashioning of them. And I almost worry that this is the future of streaming cinema, but it will be a version of it without a like auteur like Zack Snyder behind it. Is like the next version of Rebel Moon is just going to be like streaming platforms, you know, by committee putting together things that are just being constantly re-edited and expanded, and like it won't even be clear when one movie ends and another begins because it's all just becoming content.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and this is the classic issue with Zack Snyder. It's the argument of like, if Coach would have just put me in at like the county, the
county
whatever. Yeah, the championship, we would have gone to states. It's always this argument that if these different conditions existed, my film wouldn't have sucked ass. It would have actually been very good. The problem being, as you've said, Devin, like the Zack Snyder Justice League actually is better than the Joss Whedon one. So it now we have to deal with this always being a thing where that will always be the argument that there's some version out there that exists that's actually better. But I do think you're right that it's an inevitable outcome of everything becoming content. As I mentioned before, that Netflix doesn't talk about how many subscribers they have anymore. They talk about how many hours of streaming is happening on their platform. And so that's this place where, of course, they're going to split every movie into two parts because that's more content. The quality of the content does not matter. And I do think it is this inevitable thing of, you see it with Zack Snyder, but even beyond that, it's like the Martin Scorseses of the world are not long. It's not going to be a case. And the conditions that created people like Martin Scorsese just do not exist anymore.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah. And so this, like, the future is
not
bleak.
saying like there's not people with talent anymore, right? But it's like, because it's also like, movies are very expensive. They're very complicated, right? It takes time to sort of emerge as someone that can make films of the scale that like Scorsese is now making in his 80s, right?
Yeah.
And instead it kind of feels like we are just going to have a constant stream of various up and comers kind of slapped at these endless projects that will just be endlessly put together until at some point the stock market realizes that Netflix doesn't actually make money. Because this is coming at some point, right? And it seems like they will keep kicking the can down the road, but there is eventually going to be a reckoning, I feel like, like now if you want to watch like streaming, it's like every streaming platform has like 2 movies and you need to subscribe to 17 of them, right? You're paying more than a cable subscription. At some point a shoe is going to drop on this stuff. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but this is not a sustainable business model, right? There's no way that like, these millions and millions of dollars being burned to make Rebel Moons are like actually generating real money.
But this to concede that point, of which you are correct, is to essentially concede the entirety of the American economy. And so it's like when that shoe does fall, yes, Netflix will be in trouble, but also the American empire will collapse in upon itself because that is the norm. Like that is just how GDP is driven these days is through this fucking Ponzi scheme of like investor capital that never actually makes money, but somehow keeps perpetuating itself.
Yeah, well, maybe this is the unintentional radicalism of Rebel Moon, that by the time Rebel Moon Part 12 is coming out, that Rebel Moon Part 13 will actually be IRL. It'll be you're now becoming the character, and your empire is collapsing, and good fucking riddance, right? So anyway, shall we put on the pants?
Let's put on the pants.
All right, Ethan. We love to put on the pants. Joe Pantoliano, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. What do you got?
So, I'm going to be honest. Part of me really wanted to start a trend of saying for every single one of these Joe Pantoliano rankings, I choose The Matrix for a different reason. I'm not going to do that because I don't think that's fair to Joe Pantoliano. So what I'm going to give this, I'm going to give it to Joe Pantoliano, and I'm going to give it to Joe Pantoliano's from The Adventures of Pluto Nash. This was the 2002 science fiction film starring Eddie Murphy. And let's just say Eddie Murphy loomed large over the production of this, much as Zack Snyder was sort of just given free reign from Netflix to kind of do a thing, to like make a new Star Wars. And it ends up bad because of that. I'll give you just a line from a telling of the production of The Adventures of Pluto Nash. Because I think that kind of tells the tale. So apparently The Adventures of Pluto Nash had been in production since 1983. So this was another instance where like they want to make this new world that they think is gonna like bring in the bucks year after year, and no one can quite figure it out how to do it. Just like Zack Snyder wants to make a new Star Wars, but can't quite figure out when and how to do it. And so eventually they went through a lot of people, apparently, including Harrison Ford. But then they land on Eddie Murphy to lead The Adventures of Pluto Nash. And that's where it really falls apart, because Eddie Murphy kept rejecting all the scripts. And to quote from the development of this film, Murphy asked for a, quote, straight script, like one that would be written for Sylvester Stallone or Harrison Ford. Again, the people they wanted to be in this film. And said that he would, quote, bring the comedy. And apparently he did not bring the comedy, and the film was just very, very bad. And I feel like this is a similar situation with Rebel Moon, where Netflix is like, well, Zack Snyder says he's bringing the Star Wars, so we need to let him do anything he wants to do, and we will drop $200 million into this. of which, like, as Netflix, we've brought in like $850,000 total in the last year, but we're going to drop all this money on this, and it ends up being very bad. I guess the difference is that we're probably going to see 8 more Rebel Moons, whereas we only saw 1 Adventures of Pluto Nash. If the Adventures of Pluto Nash had come out on Netflix in 2024, we would have gotten so many of them. So
Absolutely.
I'm giving it 2 Joe Pantolianos, 2 because I thought some of the action sequences were like, if I was playing a video game, that'd be cool, but not good outside of that. So that's what I'm falling on. What about you, Devin?
Yeah, so, I was doing a little research for the podcast, watching Bound, the first movie by the Wachowskis, speaking of The Matrix, right? Which also features Joe Pantoliano as Caesar.
They knew. The Wachowskis knew. Like, it's all about the pants.
It's all about the pants. And I'm not going to spoil this movie. It's good. It's a quite good debut, especially. But I'll say that for a large portion of this movie, Joe Pantoliano is in over his head. Much as I think Zack Snyder is, right? But at the same time, that in over his head quality, I gotta be honest, as bad as the movie is, it kind of works for me sometimes. Just because it's so, like, things like the backstory scene are so weird, it almost feels to me like I'm watching like an experimental film. And I don't think it's intentional, but I have to give it some points for being unique. Like it should not be as weird as it is.
Yeah, it almost in a very strange way reminds me of like David Lynch, Dune, where they give this director leeway to do whatever the fuck they want. And a lot of people look at it like, it's not the thing I wanted, but actually it's really interesting in what that person did with all of the flexibility they were given in making a film that they wanted to sort of do.
Yeah. So it's like, I have to, much as Zack Snyder believes in like that there are great individuals, I don't necessarily think there are great individuals, but there are individuals. And Rebel Moon is a reminder in an era of like algorithmic cinema that there are unique ways of sucking. Like, you don't just have to suck the way the computers tell you to. You can go out there and suck like a human being. And so I'm giving it 3.
Wow.
Joe Pantolianos as Caesar in Bound.
Wow.
I gotta respect it. On some level, I have to respect it.
I think that's fair. And with that, I don't know who I'm talking to because no one has listened to the end of this episode, surely. But that is Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver.
Yeah.
Thank God. Listen, I'm so happy that I spent my whole day recording this episode with you, Devin, because we have a limited time on this earth. And Zack Snyder, of course, believes there are great individuals. If we were to be great individuals, what is our contribution? It is spending an entire day doing a podcast on Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me in doing so, Ethan. And thank you, possible listener that may be out there, for listening to the end. We've been your tall, but I'm standing in front of you.
Thank you for leaving this on while you did the laundry.
Yeah. Sorry that you're like on your bike right now and you're like, fuck, how do I pause? How do I skip? How do I skip?
I want cruising. I want more cruising. God damn it.
Yeah. But we'll be back with more soon. More non-Rebel Moon content for you. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at YourTallPod.
I just want to say, I said at the outset of this season, we've got some real stinkers. And we've got one on here, but I do think our next one I'm actually excited about. So
next one should be good. Next one should be good. We've got a good guest. You'll hear less of us talking, hopefully. But in the meantime, you can email us at yourtallpod@gmail.com. What else can they do? You're at Mathisipi. I'm at Stale Cooper. And that's all we got. Liberalism with Zack Snyder characteristics in our lifetime.